then what am I really preaching about? You know, I had to be a person who led by example. I was a person who pressed up his own records and then gave them to the distributor and said, dude, I just gave you 20,000 units. At the end of 3 months, you're gonna have my money for them 20,000 units, or you're gonna have the returns for me so that I can sell them on my own. This is the game I'm playing with y'all. I own all the masters and all the publishing to every single thing that I do. Somebody can put my stuff up on YouTube. It doesn't bother me because I still get paid through that. I don't care if someone comes up to me at the show and says, hey man, I downloaded your music, son. Thank you, my brother. I appreciate that. I'll play it for you all. What's the problem? Well, I don't need to own you. You don't need to own me. I don't look at it in that fashion. I think what I had to overcome the most was the status quo of how society was structured. That you can't be successful on your own. The idea that independent music and revolutionary hip-hop don't sell. Why would you do that? You don't understand how many people told me that when I first came into this game. Why would you want it? But it was always a stupid argument to me because it was proof in the past that it had worked. You know, it would be like someone coming up to you and being like, why would you want to be a lawyer? You're a woman. Why wouldn't you just want to be a housewife? Well, because you're sexist asshole, things have changed. It's the same thing with me. Well, why would you want to rap about this? Why wouldn't you just want to rap about clothes and women? And, well, because you're cited classist son of a bitch, things have changed. I'm kind of stuck in the struggle right now, and I'm trying to get through this thing. If you give me a little leeway, I'll get there, and I'm not asking you to follow me. I don't need people to follow me. I don't ask people to believe everything I believe. I'm asking them to question everything they're told. So from that perspective, I had to overcome that.
And seeing so you were both born in other countries, but you've lived in the United States for a long time, and you went to Peru recently, and Jenny goes to Iran pretty frequently. Does having this both perspectives sort of help you in a way to like be your own independent person?
Yes, I love having the two different perspectives because you get to see where a lot of, like, I think the social pressures and the social laws that we live under, whether it's in Iran or in the United States, are so much more limiting than a lot of the other laws. Like I went into the law because I thought it was a practical application of our philosophical ideals, right? So it's like we already are really limited in the way that we think. And so the law, based on the limited ways that we think, is created. But a lot of our most deep, like social, like for example, riding a bike to work in Iran is just so socially frowned upon that nobody would do it. Well, in the United States, riding a bike to work would have also been really socially frowned upon, like if it weren't for the past 10 years where it's a lot more accepted than it had been. I mean, I remember like being at a big firm 10 years ago even, and nobody rode a bike to work. It was just like, what, you're right? I mean, and it's those things that I think limit us the most.
Let me please jump in. I think there was a fatwa put against women riding bikes at one point by one of the real extreme guys saying like, women shouldn't have that there and it's bad for them or something like that. But I think there's also like people that are really worried about the air pollution into Iran because it's really, really bad. And they're like, you know, this is crazy, we should be riding bikes. So there's also that too. And there's people who are not very religious at all in Tehran. And I want to also add, I went to Tehran in 2009, right before the presidential election there, and I was astonished how friendly people were. And they were coming up to me because they'd hear me speak English, and they'd go, where are you from? And when I said I was from America, they were like, we love America. And I was like, wow, I was so surprised because I mean, you know, America put a coup against them.
Bombarded with ideas that those people hate us.
Yeah.
They want to kill us, you know what I mean? And if
Yeah.
you turn on Fox, you would think that they all have like a Fox on every person in this country. It's not like that. Most people in this country are too busy with their lives to give a fuck about anybody over there. So why wouldn't it be the same for most people over there to be struggling to feed their families and not give a shit about what's going on here? You know,
Yeah.
I don't know. I think for me, the dual perspective comes in when you humbly realize that you have advantages in this country that you don't have in other places, or that a lot of other people don't have. And simple things like hot water. Like a toilet that flushes without you taking a bucket and pouring it into it at 2 o'clock in the morning. But there's also beautiful things that you see. like all the food that you eat when I go visit my grandma would be organic. Not because we went to Whole Foods the night before, but because that's what she grew. We would be like, hey, would you like some chicken? All right, pick one. That's it. That's how fresh it is. There's a law in New York City that you can have a bird frozen for up to 2 years and still sell it. That's FDA approved.
Yeah.
Nice wings, huh? Love them 2-year-old wings, my dude. Delicious wings. You know how to make them nuggets, right? You know how to make them nuggets, right? When chicks are born, they automatically separate the male from, I used to work at McDonald's, I'm sorry. I'm ruining people's lives. They separate the male and the female chicks. They take all the female chicks and they put them on the side and they only let them mate with the stud roosters that they have in their little pen, like 10 of them. The females immediately have their beak burned off so they can be fed with a tube. And all the male chicks, since you're not the breeding male, you all go on a conveyor belt and you're put into a big grinder. And since their meat is soft and their bones are soft, the marrow comes out of the middle of the bone, and they call that the flavor of the butter. Then it turns into pink slop that comes out of the machine the same way that you would in a Mr. Softy truck. You know, when you pull the lever and the ice cream comes out like that? And they put it on a big platter and they cookie cutter out a chicken nugget hole. And there you go. So I feel glad that I have the opportunity to see people live life the way they're supposed to. And not just that, if I could just say one last thing. A very wise man told me in a small village in the middle of nowhere that the natural habitat of a human being was not a block of metal and concrete. And that shit blew my mind. And I wasn't even high. I was like, we should be under a tree in Iran somewhere eating apples off this shit. Like, instead, we're in a block of metal and concrete. And
I want to point out one of the reasons that people like to get into countries sometimes is because not only natural resources like maybe oil and gas or things like that, but also agriculture even. And Syria had, by the way, Syria, I can say, it has a lot of organic agriculture, so that's kind of a plus. And I would like to mention that we now have Ehsan Ziya on also. Woo! What's it doing? On my keyboard. Hey, can you hear me, Ehsan?
Yeah, I can hear you. How are you?
Okay. Ehsan is the artist who took the photographs of Baron Nohra, which are over there. And thank you. Welcome to the conversation, Ehsan. As you can see, you're in the company of, can you see us? Here's Immortal Technique, here's Jenny. Yeah, you can see the ceiling. Okay, guys. Okay. So welcome to the conversation. We kind of got off on a tangent here a little bit. We were talking about agriculture for a second. Let me ask you a little bit about your guiding sense of justice and your principles, because I think you're a pretty principled person, Ehsan. How do you get your sense of what's the...
If you give me a little bit of context.
I'm winging it. I'm just trying to figure out how to wing it. Yeah.
Is there any point of discussing? Sorry, wait.
It's okay. Can you guys hear at all? You can hear? Okay. Let me say. Oh, let me go back to the question we asked earlier. Which limitations or restrictions did you need to transcend in order to achieve what you had? Because you created the first hip hop podcast in Tehran, in all of Iran, and you created the first, maybe not the first hip hop record label, but one of the first. And you created like some really landmark records that people are like, oh my goodness, like it's so strong. What limitations did you have to overcome as an artist to do what you've done?
Well, now when I look at it with the perspective, because now it's a long time ago that I did this, we were there. Now that I live in London and I'm far away from that sort of context, so I have a better perspective. like.
No?
But I mean, it's different, it's different. But like the thing is, the limitations are mostly like, first of all, before I went into this like problems with the government and stuff.
Yeah.
The limitations are mostly technical. So I think it's all over the place, like, because what I think is that, especially hip hop and these type of cultures are really related to the economic class of the people who are involved to this. And I think especially in Iran, hip hop culture is really tied to the middle class. And like when I look at those days, I didn't have a lot of concerns about the economy and anything else. I just had some tools and I wanted to do something with them.
And you could get internet access because you were middle class. If you were from if you had less money, you would have been able to be exposed probably to hip hop, right?
Yeah, that's true. Like that's how it differs. But the middle class, my generation, the middle class is the majority of the population. That's the difference.
That's different from America because we seem like we have not so much middle class, like a few really rich people, and now more and more poor people. So.
Yeah, and the limitations are like this. But when I look at my past, what I think the main limitation has been always money, and that's again connected to the class system and the other stuff. So always money, like the industry needs money to grow. And now, like if you take into the consideration now, all of the Persian hip hop artists are poor, basically. There was never a point in the history of hip hop in Iran that we could make money, because like the point that we had the plan to make money, that's when we get arrested. Because like when money is involved, you're official. It's not just some kid that's making something. When money is involved, then they understood that they grow.
Were they also afraid you had some political influence because people were listening to what you were saying? Not that the songs weren't even that really hardcore, but some of them were kind of critical.
Well, I was like, when I look at that, when they were critical, but critical as in like, well, that's like, that's hard, like, that's, controversial, we cannot say, but whether, like, when I look at it, the stuff that we've been saying were really, like, the really good stuff, so from generation to